decide what we're storing this in first. I think Mongo. What IGDB has to change. Oh, we have to write CDC for Mongo. Love you, Turtles. Good girl. And you do, Loki Dog. You good boy. Yeah. Hey. Morning, Mojo. How you doing? Oh. Okay, so today I am going to take a quick look at how you might do CDC with MongoDB. It never is going to be a PHP day. Ow. Okay, here we go. Chat GPT. Can I? I'm finding it annoying that I'm basically having to use other LLMs instead of Claude so that I don't waste the Claude credits. Because it's so easy to burn through them. I'm actually finding that kind of annoying. Just how that's changing where I'm asking for information from. So I'm not spending $200 a month on these things. Gonna use CDC. Want to So change data capture should, in theory, be present or a form of it should be present in most of these providers. What I'm looking to see is if I can use CDC on IGDB as well, then I can, in theory, hook up to, I can change my CDC library to basically kind of do monitor SQL Server and monitor, add change monitoring for SQL Server and add change monitoring for MongoDB and handle them independently. That way, I can create these events and store. The idea is that I will store the converted data in Query API, probably in MongoDB, and Query API will pull everything down. That's the theory, right? No, Twitch CDC. Oh, awesome. You can capture data CDC from MongoDB without using the two native approaches. Using MongoDB driver. What can I hook up? Can I use that hook up? Can I use libraries? Okay, here we go. So the last two times you've done that, my entire stream was derailed, not just 5 minutes. Because I know what you're gonna do. So and I want to make progress, so I just disabled it. Hi Stony. How you doing? This might not be too difficult. Let's have a look. I'm sorry to remove the fun. But yeah, last time I did it, it completely derailed. Not just slightly derailed. So basically, if this is a SQL Server change monitoring service, SQL Server, if we have the source develop.cdc.mongodb, that's right. Let's have a look. Shouts, hello, how you doing? How are things? Okay. Let's have a look. Is change stream document built in? Or is that making that up for me? Because that's really simple if that's the case. Prepping for interview, I change job soon. Best of luck. May it go well. Rambling Geek, hello. How you doing? Let's see how much of this is real. I've got a feeling it's not real, but we'll find out. Okay, so in here, let's add MongoDB. That worries me. .NET 6. Has that not been updated in a while? No, September 10th. Okay. They just haven't updated the description. So what I'm doing is I have now broken up the application into components, right? So games API, IGDB API, price charting API, and query. The idea is that all of these will live in the same application, but they'll have their own databases. So games will, and that looks like this right now. So the games lives in the DBO schema, right? So that lives over here. Price charting lives over here. And the CDC stuff lives here. And the idea is that IGDB, right now, I like the idea of IGDB being in the MongoDB because it means I have control over that piece. However, if that cache changes, i.e. I've gone and requested IGDB data, it's going to be a slight difference there, isn't there? Oh, you can just do that. That's fine. I flipped everything on its head, right? If I request IGDB data, link IGDB data, there's kind of a this isn't a cache anymore. This is the IGDB games. And then I'm going to pull the information I want from that and put it into my shared data cache over here. So I'm going to pull all the IGDB data. The idea is I pull all IGDB data that I care about, that I might care about in here, but then the view side of it filters it. So when I link it, I still need to be able to query IGDB and return that. Ugh. It's testing the design here quite hard. Because what do I query? I don't query IGDB. I query the view. But I don't want to make the view IGDB specific. That's my challenge. I'm trying to make sure I decouple my third-party services. Yes, I know about them. Yes, they are not likely to change, but I'm trying to use this as an experiment in some of these things, right? I'm trying to use this to kind of think about how I might tackle these situations. So right now, isolating games from price charting and IGDB means that my games data is my games data and nothing else happens. However, in the query, I want to combine all this data and be able to query on the type of game or search the synopsis of a game for a name or something like that, right? But the flow of the application so far is when I go to search for a game, I search IGDB. So suppose that returns the same way and get becomes part of. Yes. Yes, I think it is. I think the search returns the same thing as it does now. And the get doesn't happen in here anymore, but the link does. So the link to my game is going to happen here now, and then that will trigger the change and pull the IGDB data down. Yes, it'll fetch it and then retrieve it, and then in the client side, yes. when we pull the game data will contain all this normalized out without IGDB. Yes, that makes sense. So as far as this goes, linking the game. So when I say link, I mean, okay, associate IGDB with my game and price charting with my game. Those two things that currently happened in here, this will now no longer have any linking to any third-party system. The third-party system components will have the linking, and the view query will, on change, update its data, and its data will be kind of a conglomeration of those things. The benefit of that is if I swap out IGDB for one of those other services we looked at, or I swap out price charting for something else, as long as that data can still be achieved, all I need to do is change how I pull that data and put it in here, and this application is completely unaffected, right? This doesn't actually have a tight binding to price charting or whatever. Now, there are things like the API key and stuff, sure, that I kind of store in the profile. Oh, this is your price chart and API key, etc. But that doesn't necessarily have to live in the data for that to work. So the price charting system can store its API key, and vice yeah. It's all about dependencies in the right directions, right? So to be able to achieve that, I kind of need to create a uh, a structure here that allows me to say add SQL Server and add. Um, actually, we need to test this first. So services. This would be change monitoring service, right? And I think this is a background service, yes. Edge. Start hosting. And as always, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, if you think this is the wrong direction, I'm interested to know what your thoughts are. But just remember, I am doing this as I'm using this as a thought experiment and a tool to change the way I develop applications normally, right? So just kind of going at this from a different direction I would traditionally, to ask, what do I like, what don't I like? So far, if what I'm planning on doing can be achieved, then I have a system that is one application server with many databases, with the ability to decouple third-party integrations quite strongly. But we will see. Okay, I'm going to move this over here again, so because we don't need that on the screen. We'll do that. Okay, so this is going to need an iService scope factory. You need a service scope factory. I think there is a way of doing this without, but because a background service is created as a singleton, a hosted service is created as a singleton, and you can't have scope in singleton, so you need to create the scope yourself. But for right this second, let's see how much this code actually just compiles straight out of the box. Okay, so Mongo client. Oh, all of it does. And that will be stopping token. And that's the same thing. Oh, well, that's interesting. So change stream documents built into the driver. Wow, okay. So in here, what we do is we create monitors per collection, and we ask of that. So that's similar. .NET 10, I guess? Nope, not yet. I won't use .NET 10 until he says that, and then he realizes he installed Visual Studio. No, .NET 9. How you doing, Phil? I won't use .NET 10 until it releases. I'll update this immediately to .NET 10 once it does release, just to test it. I think it's always worthwhile having projects you are willing to try an upgrade without big projects. But I don't use the pre-release versions. Okay, so in this case, we need start monitoring async, extract interface, iChange monitor. So now what I got to figure out is the commonality, right? With this is similar, and then we could put the publisher in there. And if we could put the publisher in there, then we could have the ability to say, okay, here's the monitors we're going to start, and here's the publishers, and now we can start the services up and monitor the relevant databases. Now, in this version, I'm going to install these background services in the same website service. But the reality is I probably would not want to do that. I'd probably want to run this as a separate service because I think this is going to cost on the application side. Is there a way to trigger on change? Oh, I think that watch async is actually pausing. A tailable cursor. Nice. Yeah, okay. I guess I was trying to figure out an EF query, but it would error during runtime. It made me want to rip out EF because I don't like errors that don't get caught before build. Made you want to rip out EF. I don't like errors that don't get caught before build. How would the query get caught before build if you wrote it in raw SQL? Or am I missing something with what you're saying there? Right. Right, but the problem is, so link syntax is still fine, but so link syntax can work on all sorts of things. Like that's why unit testing of entity framework stuff is never possible, because all you're testing, if you're testing unit tests, is and mocking out your context, etc., is you're testing link to objects. Even if you use the in-memory database, you'll never get it convert to SQL. So because it's so global, it doesn't know what SQL it's going to generate until it's connected to the SQL server it's going against. Entity Framework will scale its SQL based upon which version of SQL it connects to. So different features are available in newer versions. So underneath it will do all sorts of different things. So you can't guarantee it. And if you were writing the SQL yourself, you will get a less optimized version potentially. If you know if the SQL server gets upgraded, it was trying to take 10 of a child object, so it's feeds right because it's got to be as enumerable. But if you're doing link to objects, that works fine, I assume. Feeds.include what? Oh, because it's yeah, because it's compatible code. Why would you do? That's not an EF problem. That's a U problem, isn't it? That code. I have not seen that tried before. Although to be honest, I've only recently started using includes and whatnot more often. The include without the feed will pull every object. Half while running. Well, isn't the include meant to say, yeah, is it really meant for that? The include? I've never seen it, but normally I'd include the child collection and then limit the results as I was querying it. And it would do the take 10 in the query, in the transform. Am I missing something? Um, we've seen a 6 problem, thus a me problem because who would start the include without the fuel point and recharge out as soon as it. Right, but I thought you were meant to do feeds that include feed items, and then when you're querying the feed items, like if you were trying to join that as a nested child collection, you would limit the result of feed items. So you, when you kind of transform it, you do, from, you know, um, X in F dot feed items dot take 10 select whatever as your nested collection rather than the take 10 there. Because that's compatible code because all that takes is an expression, I believe, in include. So it's compatible code, however, because it can't validate the behavior of the data, but it's incompatible compilation. So, and that's going to happen a lot in when you're using EF, whether you use EF6 or EF core, you can write something that's perfectly valid as far as the code goes, but the moment it tries to translate that to SQL, is like, I have no idea what that's doing because it decomposed it there. If it did it on the fly, maybe, but it doesn't know which SQL server it's connecting to, so it's kind of a chicken and egg. Yeah, I'd have to look. That sounds like something I haven't really. I'd have to look at the actual query to see what I would do differently to that. But yeah. Okay, so the goal is here that we'd have a change monitoring service, one service, or multiple services probably. We'll just create a, add Mongo, add SQL Server extension. So the SQL Server, so this stuff will come out into here. So create a new project up here. And this will be tbd develop.cdc. Worst name ever, but obvious what it's doing. Okay. Again, I'm doing a bit of overthinking here. I need to get these inside. Infrastructure. Okay. What we'll do is we'll build this library out, then copy it in and try and use it from the side. And okay, not ideal, but it works. So this change monitor here is what I'm thinking will be MongoDB change monitor. Right. What this will take is a collection name. And basically that would be database, and we'll take a database. Yeah, I think a database. We'll take a iMongo database. I don't want to create a new data. I don't want to do get database for every, unless it takes the client. We have the option because we can get the client at the change monitoring service level. No, we need the connection string still. Connection string collection name. And then on changes detected, we'll remove that for right a second. So the idea would be, we would do basically this. Here. Now it looks like Mongo is not going to track full document. So that's going to be a connection string. I'm not a fan of that. That might have to change because I think it deals with singleton properly underneath. So I think it will give me the same Mongo client I've got. Oh, get database. That's going to be a challenge. String database name, string collection name. So database name, collection name. And this is going to sit outside of the service. Let's sit outside of the actual domain, so it isn't going to know what this is. The idea is that in my code, when you receive one of these things, right? So we say, okay, well, add infrastructure, and when you see this collection, you're going to register a handler for that, and that's going to handle out here, and that handler is going to say what data it is, and it'll cast that data that's being sent into that object. It comes out of the database as an anonymous object, and I'm saying, oh, it's a game, and that's a game here, right? So that's what I'm receiving from the server. So yes, that is the domain object right now, but the thing I'm going to create in here is not the game. This is going to be the collection. So deal with the idempotency. I might receive part of this data. If I add the game will exist for the game identifier. The pricing update is going to happen for a copy. So I'm going to have to add a copy. Yeah. So there's going to be multiple things created here. And then my expectation is I'll also create the handlers for the MongoDB pieces here. So it will be transparent which ones it's getting. But the query will combine all the price charting, IGDB, and games updates and create the shared schema. So you might get some eventual consistency, but they should work. And I'm thinking I'm storing this in Mongo so I can manipulate the object and not worry about that. So again, experimentation. This is the first time I've ever done this. So we'll do it this way. Okay. And as always, if you have any thoughts, questions, opinions, please feel free. Okay, so that will monitor that collection for that database, and it will publish that. So we need to do, and the idea would be our change monitoring service now changes to be, I'm going to have to move these pieces around. Okay. CDC repository. See, that lives inside the SQL side. This comes up here. So let's move directory, contracts. That moves. Refactor this. Just namespaces. What you may notice is that when I'm doing libraries I'm going to share with everyone, I use the TBD develop, like namespacing on these. And when it's personal stuff, I kind of follow a less formal structure. I prefer this way of dealing with these. It reads easy to me. It means I don't end up with lots of repetition around the TBD develop thing. But that is fine. Okay, so now let's reference our core library. I'll change this publisher. Helper extensions. Okay, there's our library still building. I think monitoring options move. I kind of think they both get their own version of monitoring options. That's the problem. But they come from the same core. So I think they both have I think this becomes monitoring SQL. But what if we want to monitor multiple databases? Database servers. Let's not worry about that case right now. That's pushing it too far. Yeah, I think these are very specific to this. I think our change is publisher though does become change handler. I change handler, move to folder, contracts. we're going to have to see about map from so far. But I think they're going to be the same thing. So just got to figure out this monitoring service. So change monitoring. So infrastructure. So basically on this side, what I'm going to do there is there's going to be SQL. And that's going to change to be price charting. So same SQL Server, MongoDB, connection string name is Mongo. Uh, um, intro Mongo collections will be games. Intro Mongo. I think it was that, right, in their example. I might have to turn replicas on. I don't know. And it's that replica set equals rs0. Do I have to enable? So what this might do, yeah. Yeah. What this might do is basically create a read-only copy of the MongoDB, and it will read from that as it gets updated. So it's not actually tracking on the primary, is my best guess. Not necessarily guaranteed right this second, but we'll try and learn. Let's go over here. Actually, let's go here. Code. Okay. So, did I enable replica set? REPL set rs0. I do enable REPL set. So I have, and I have initialized it. So we do have a replica set already. Look at that for some pre-thought. Do you see that in here is a question. Do you have any idea of there being a replica set? Or is it just turned on? No, there's no indication that that's there. Oh no, that's not. The wrong one. Collections. I like the idea of properties. Okay, so there's no indication in IGDB cache there that replica set's turned on, but I have turned it on. Okay. So back here, get that fine. So connection string database name is IGDB cache right a second, right? And then back over here, monitoring options is going to look similar. Hey, Delta. No worries. Public string, connection string name. Same thing. I'm going to put required there. I learned a fair bit writing it, mostly realization that CQS is not equal to CQS. Yeah. Different things. The second one is the style of code outside CQS. Well, yeah, there's an architectural concern to CQRS, whereas CQS is a more behavioral rule sort of thing, right? Public required, IEnumerable, and collections, and public required string database name. Okay, so that's that one. Then I'm not sure we don't have a need for a shared so basically move this, create CDC configuration builder, and this takes an IT builder builder. Do you know how to properly sync a fork back after your PR got merged? This branch is 8 commits ahead of and 1 commit back. Do you know how to? No, not off the top of my head. So you've got a fork that you've merged back in. So you're missing 1 commit. PR merge goes just fine since it shows up. Oof. So there's 1 commit that exists in master that doesn't exist in the fork. Literally every PR shows me a diff of before to now. It's where people like Mojo can be helpful. Um, people who've like gone off and studied the quirkiness of Git. Um, and probably had to deal with the quirkiness of Git. Um, um, Microsoft extensions hosting abstractions. How am I supposed to know how to deal with this as an open source owner? Well, I mean, that's. Oh, damn it. This is going to be. So then we're going to do. Guy made this code is no longer an inside admin. The outside maintainer, so he now has to go through PRs instead of direct commits. Yeah. So you're trying to. He forked it and is trying to make a PR back against your master branch. But from the looks of that, there's a change. 8 commits ahead. So there's 8 commits in it, but it's missing 1 commit. You've made a commit to master since. So you need to, yeah. Hold on. I You may get a merge conflict anyway if that 1 commit is on files that are not overridden, that overlap. And what you're looking to do is get this merged without losing changes, right? Bringing the latest changes from target branch. Rebase your PR onto the target branch. Cleaner history but rewrites commits. Is a merge commit really what you want though? That's the normal recommendation, is it? A merge commit. Code in my repo is matched to what he has in his IDE. That disagrees unless he rebases master before doing that, so that his PR is based off the latest master, because that suggests that master has 1 commit more than the PR branch. Right? So you can either rebase against you could rebase master to pull that 1 change and make his changes, and then the PR he makes is against the current version of master. You figure out the source of truth. Well, that's not the purpose of. There is the source of truth is always both in Git, right? Because the master branch or the main branch, or whatever you want to call it, yeah, this is a maintainer who, for the purpose of this conversation, has forked the repo, has made some changes, and is now trying to PR those back into the main repo. Git pull rebase. Has he with the latest? I wonder if you can see that commit. So if he fetches origin, does he get any changes from master? Yeah. Well, ultimately, he needs his branch to be. He needs that one commit that you've got in master that he doesn't have. What am I doing? Who am I? What I want to do is create a application host builder here that will refactor, adjust namespaces. There you go. Take CDC configuration builder of T builder, and it will take that and it would be neat to build that blackjack game code, but using CQRS style patterns. Give it a whirl. So we do configure. So we do var CDC configuration builder equals that, and then we do configure. Why would that be null? Oh, the configure can be null. If configure is not null, I mean, it's going to be pretty much worthless if you don't do that. But what we're going to do on here is we're going to extend this. Getting to merge into your fork, not his own. Yeah, in this case, Stony is the maintainer. This other person has forked the repo, has made some changes, and is now trying to make a PR back against the original repo. That repo has one commit difference that the fork does not have. So the fork should be updated against this. The fork should be updated against the source repo branch before making that PR, so that it doesn't have that one commit missing. It contains that commit, because then they can fix the merge conflicts that may happen off of that. before making the PR. Yeah, that's the purpose of Git is that you can have many sources, many remotes, right? It, Forking is just a version of that, as far as I'm aware, in that it's just another remote, just not tracked back. So yeah, well, that's the point. They were collaborating originally, but no longer collaborating. So this person no longer has regular PR against that branch. They now have a fork, so they need to pull that latest to their fork and work off it. I lost my coffee somewhere. Have you seen it? Duca, that is tragic. You probably want to fix that quickly. Yeah. Yeah, I just drank it. Oh, coffee. Yeah, they're in the true use case of forks, so that these two, there's no default collaboration. It's just an offer to commit back. Again, my hopes with projects on this stream that have been kind of open for contribution have always been to hope to get that, build that experience for people, but there's never been any contributions, right? So that's why I'm not doing it anymore, or not focusing on it anymore. Okay, so this configuration builder will now that's the problem. Finding something that other people are interested in. Not easy. So I have not chased that now for a while. Right? The whole developers of stream thing does not hold interest for everybody. Game Trove isn't open source. Game Trove is open source. Liquid Sky is not. Liquid Sky is a different type of uh, idea. I just invite him back with lower access, but this stuff is something I don't like. Every time I get into Git issues, I get stuck to the point I say, false push and screw the history of it. Yeah, yeah, you got to learn how to. Yeah, yeah. Game Trove is open source. Um, if that video doesn't help, we can workshop it in Discord. I must learn these things by breaking things. That's what I'm saying. Like giving up and just going to default is not necessarily the best thing, especially when you don't have necessarily the time limitation. Um, yeah. I'll look through it. I think I'd learn about the whole. Yeah, go ahead. Have a look. It's in the TBD Friends repo. Messed up a rebase so bad that I had to pray that my coworker didn't pull my chain. More better abstractions than I do. Okay, so CDC, these are all SQL Server concepts. Mongo doesn't need any of this. The publisher lookup changes publisher. These two can probably move. Change handler here. All this can move up, I think. We'll worry about that in a second. The downside of never having worked in a corporate setting doing this stuff. Stoney, I hate to tell you, This stuff gets messed up in corporate all the time. It's no more immune to it than you are. Okay. Um, yes, but you get to learn what steps to take with what issues. I wish I could say you did. Oftentimes, you're either you're disconnected from it, so people are fixing it their way anyway, or you are doing it in the way you're currently doing it in the quickest possible way to get the thing moved. And the people who take the time and learn more about the thing, like again, there's areas of Git that I just don't practice, and I should do. I know I should do. But the only time you get to practice them is on stuff that doesn't matter. Um, yeah, like to me, learn, take the time, learn. Um, yeah. Um, 8,000 warnings. Hmm. I'm a go and look at warnings afterwards as a cleanup sort of person, unfortunately. I don't let them divert me because there's so many inconsequential warnings, but that's also another challenge. It's also a reason why having something like Sonar is a good thing because you can keep an eye on what warnings actually matter. Yeah. Yeah. Look at this. The stuff I'm building now for Liquid Sky for Game Trove. Look how big it's gained compared to, you know, for what it is. Because I'm adding layers, I'm adding libraries, I'm adding things in there to build out a better system. But with that comes more complexity. Um, Not even 50K right now. Liquid Sky is 16K. So it's far less code than you think. Eh, Depends on the project. What did you guess? No, no guess. Okay, the client is 12K lines of code, but that doesn't count. That's Angular. It doesn't know what's the difference between my code and whatever there. But 16K lines of code scanned for Liquid Sky, which is my code. because it doesn't include library code, right? Yeah. So 16K by measure. Okay, so I think this piece moves eventually, but let's worry back about this. So what I'm thinking here is we have CDC configuration builder extensions. Let's see if this works. And then this piece, actually just remove that one, Dingleberry. Add SQL Server change monitoring. And this is no longer T builder. This is a CDC configuration. I don't think that works. Quite the way I think it should do. See, let's see. Change CDC configuration builder, T builder, and then this becomes return builder. I'm doing that so I can wrap it up into something. I'm not sure it's going to work the way I think it's going to work though. So let's find out. New project, console, test. Scrap program. Manage hosting. Var builder equals host dot create application builder dot. So this over here becomes add change monitoring, right? What? What Ukrainian abstractions? Add change monitoring. Reference. Ukrainian Microsoft extensions hosting, yeah. I don't know what that means. Okay, so then if we add SQL Server and MongoDB, then we can do configure goes to configure.add SQL Server change monitoring. And that will now add that. However, what does it mean to add the CDC change monitoring? This, because this builder, is that a public component of it? Because that might not work anyway. So builder dot, yeah, builder. I gotta figure out how to expose this. Hold on, I know how to do it. Public CDC configuration builder, T builder. configure, and this is going to be an action of tbuilder configure, and then we're going to do configure invoke builder. Return this. I hope that commented out code gets left in where? What commented out code? Oh, this. No. Bigger. And then, because this will go in here, and then that should become that. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Oh, that does matter. Oh, I've overridden configure. So CDC builder. That becomes that. That becomes that. That becomes that. That. Gotta think about some better names there. Bigger dot invoke. So what I'm trying to build is a friendlier API. So the CDC would then have so this would be monitoring, right? Monitoring, and that would be configure, and this would be configure.add register handler. So that will behave the same way as this does now, right? So instead of add change monitoring doing the right, instead of change monitoring adding the handler, we will end up with add change monitoring, and we'll add SQL Server and add MongoDB monitoring, right? And the idea being that then we just extend out this configuration builder here. Now, I don't think that's going to work if I make that. That should be that. I don't think that's going to work because we need to expose that. Because if I do internal there, that's going to break this because this library is not there. So that's fine. It means that in here, I can potentially do that. What I can do, host builder. It's not the end of the world, but it's not the best design because I expose. I'm kind of abstracting away the host builder here, but then exposing it back out again as an extra method of configure. But that configure is only created for the purpose of doing this, which is probably not bad. Add change monitoring dot add SQL Server change monitoring. Because what I'd like to do is just kind of hide this method. I should have not looked it up. I should have not clicked that link. Yeah, so ideally it would be nice if I could hide this to this namespace, but internal would work if it was all in the same library, but it's not. So it is what it is, right? So this would be CDC configuration builder extensions. And now I got to just think through the naming to make sure we're kind of in. um, yeah, so this includes now the monitoring SQL, it includes the change handling configuration, and I think this moves to be part of this, right? Because the publisher becomes part of the of these pieces. That can't be null, so that's fine. Actually, just invoke. You have to provide it. There's no option but to provide that. And again, what we're doing is just flipping that builder configuration into an actual builder so that we can build the extension methods. This, though, I think that needs. So change handling configuration. Oh, but we do need that, don't we? CAC. So do we not need this here? Do we need this? So the change handling configuration registers the handlers. It also defines the publisher lookup. So the publisher lookup is built when we have a collection name that comes in and we handle out. So yeah. Um, so the thing to remember when I'm doing this, my focus is on improving the design of the software, right? I don't care. This is going to take me some time, but I have broken everything right now. Everything's on the floor, right? I can create a game potentially because I can call it. I've verified I can create these APIs. The application API does pull these things together, so there's only one API running that contains all these four, and these are appropriately namespaced, or they will be appropriately namespaced, to make sure that I can't, if I go to IGDB, I get IGDB. We will get rid of the API gateway in doing this, which will help. But yeah, but it does mean that everything is just kind of on the floor in pieces. And normally people wouldn't take on a refactor like this because obviously the ideal goal would be to be able to commit often and commit little pieces. But I'm of the mindset that sometimes if you want to do the right thing involves creating a lot of problems, a lot of context. If I had taken my time, um, if I'd have taken my time, then I probably would have planned this out a little bit more deliberately. I'd have said, okay, let's create all the view objects for the query API and point it at the same database, validate that it does exactly the same thing as it does now. And then how do I build those objects would be my next challenge. So I could have been more deliberate about this. Instead, I was more, you know, blow it all up and rebuild it based upon a whim. But that's the beauty of writing code in spare time. You can learn those lessons through doing this sort of stuff, right? Whereas if you are doing this in real for real in a business organization, in a business scenario, you can't do those sorts of refactorings. You just won't do it. Because even if you want to, the business is not going on. Yeah, Rambling Geek. That would be good to see. So Rambling Geek doesn't stream very often, but he does like tinkering and playing, and I really hope that he can do more of that as he gets more equipment to do 3D printing and electronics and stuff. So kind of combining the software and hardware worlds is good. And thank you for doing the shout. I appreciate it. Frank, hello. Uh, Vibing. To clarify, with Nerf Gun on stream, Rambling Geek has uh, a multi-shot Nerf robot configured that will shoot at him. Um, yeah, I'm gonna move this now. Forget it. Let's just do it. Yeah, let's not make it sound like yeah. Let's refactor this. Adjust namespaces. Let's see what breaks there. Nothing. Okay. That's kind of worrying. Now, what I'm thinking now is this doesn't live here. Or there. Because realistically, that doesn't need to be here anymore. That's that. And monitoring needs to take that. Because we need that method in here. Public CDC configuration builder. Builder with handlers, action, change handling, configure. So that piece. Hey, and how you doing? That's why I quickly added that that Rambling Geek has a Nerf gun on stream, and that is I know that the use of the word can sometimes trigger. So yes, I'm not bad. I'm not bad. Return this. So now the goal becomes for this to say monitoring dot with handlers. There we go. Handler goes to handler dot handlers dot register handler. There you go. Okay, with handlers and add SQL Server, and then what we'll do is add MongoDB change monitoring. Okay, I like that API. I see some. Yes, I am. I'm experimenting. So I have created a library that I'm trying to make work with Mongo now, right? So the idea being that I am going to monitor my changes to IGDB, my changes to my games DB, and my changes to my price chart DB, and use this service here to collect them and restore them as a model in my query side. So whereas typically I would use Kafka with Liquid Sky, I'm experimenting with a different way of doing that here and creating CDC monitors for these databases and stuff. Again, just to learn. And for anyone watching that's a bit confused as to what I'm actually doing here, I prefer to build the API that I want to see and use that to drive the code that I write in a lot of ways. So I want to see, how do I want to configure it? How do I want to set this up? How do I want to build this out before I actually write the code? That's a very deliberate behavior. some of this could be overkill. Some of this could exist as libraries already. I did a brief search. I didn't see anything that does what I'm trying to do here. Doesn't mean I can't go off and write my own though. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we are going to refactor this, adjust namespaces, MongoDB. We're going to add a reference to our CDC library. Right now, this is not no. That's why. Did a good thing. This is not and that's Mongo DB or Mongo. Sorry, lost track of my own thought there. MongoDB, yeah. And then we add that change monitoring service here. Yeah, so that works the same way. And now this, move that a second, and add our dependency on. Oh, we already added it. Oh, because I probably didn't rename it, did I? Because, yeah, that'd be too easy. There you go. Yeah, with this project, I really want to learn some things around performance, around the actual behavior, around whether this is going to. I mean, I know that I've done a lot of work already in the Game Trove library the last couple of weeks, and again, I'm not avoiding Liquid Sky, but right now, I'm in a. I want to learn how this works, so this gives me the perfect opportunity to do that. I've learned a bit about using Claude for coding the client. I've learned about all manner of things, and I think sometimes that's important. So the diversion into Game Trove is not a permanent one. You know, after the health issues, I've settled on 3 days a week for streaming right now, and I think that is going to be the foreseeable future. However, I will return to Game Trove eventually. I've definitely decided I'm going to continue that. I just need to, yeah, go into this. On the topic of the lines of code, I'm wondering if the .cover tab is accurate. Uh, where, where, I can't remember. I often do .cover. Down there. Yeah, I need to. There are no tests. So that's going to be. Or does it do an analysis first? I did have statistics. Is that it? This may kick my machine. Statistic. Yeah, calculating statistics. I did install statistics tool. Yeah, that does not do what I would hope. 8,000 lines of CS. Not sure that's accurate. Uh, CS. Move that. See what that does. Yeah, that's not good. That pulls way too much information. Where are you now? Where did that go? I don't have any tests. Do you have tests on? Do you have tests in there? Which is why it's giving you metrics? I don't like that. I'll have to figure out, yeah, how to filter. Settings. I want included directories, not exclude compiler output directories, exclude git, exclude package. Yeah, not sure. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So handlers here would be registering handlers. That would work. So now configuration builder does that. Application host builder does this. We need those pieces. So with handlers registers those pieces. Where do we deal with publishing? Change monitoring service, checkpoint repository, CDC. These are SQL Server components. Take care, Mojo. I'll see you later. That's MongoDB pieces. And so what we do is we'd create a CDC and then we'd have MongoDB and SQL Server. So you'd be able to add these, but you'd want SQL Server and MongoDB added ultimately. Where does that add that though? Change online configuration, change publisher. I think I'm missing some pieces now though. Let's get. I still think I'm missing something. What am I missing? We need to bind application host builder. We need the publisher builder.services.add scope or add singleton. Let's do singleton for now. I change publisher is changes publisher. I think I deleted those lines before, and then change handler is going to register. So the changes publisher lookup is going to be the publisher lookup. Yeah. Builder.services.add singleton I publisher lookup. Just default implementations for now. There's something to work off of. Yeah, I think that's... Oh, change channel configuration does it for us. Okay. That's done by the virtue of that then. So CDC config, when we add handlers, it will add the necessary services to deal with the publisher, and the publisher lookup is on provider. When we first get the publisher lookup, we will create the new publisher lookup and pass it the provider and the handler lookup. So the thing we've created in here, when we register these handlers, they'll just be added to a dictionary, and we'll add a scoped instance to the services so that when we go and fetch it later, we actually go and retrieve from that provider at that time. So yeah, it's setting up the DI, but basically dealing with the failure case as well. And again, if you want access to any of this code is open source. The entire Game Trove library is open source. All these changes I'm doing, obviously going to break it, but there is a lot in here. So for a little project, there's a lot going on. And you may argue that it is too much, but eh. Okay, so the way the monitoring works is going to be slightly different here, in theory. So what's going to happen is, this is not perfect, right? This is going to be, I'm going to have to figure out what this looks like eventually, but the try catches are, if we cancel the operation, we break out of this while, right? If we have an exception of any form during this, we're just going to wait 30 seconds and try again. If we get a bunch of changes, we're going to do await task.delay 5,000. Whatever this is just to try and put an artificial pause in. In the SQL Server, that's 10 seconds. So it will wait 10 seconds. So the maximum you'll have to wait before starting to receive changes is 10 seconds. The idea there is just not spam the server, right, with requests. We're going to have to put the publisher in here as well. So on changes, actually on changes detected is what we do here. So on changes detected dot invoke, and this will look the same way as this monitor over here, change monitor, and this will basically do await this, where this is going to be kind of interesting. So on changes detected here, we are going to have change, which is of an operation type, change dot, I think we just take the change dot bson document. So func is going to be, this might be bson document cancellation token and returns. I'm not sure that it's going to need anything. So in the SQL Server version, I'm tracking the LSN, the log something number, log zero, whatever. And that is allowing me to not try and process that change again. So I've got the CDC changes, or the header record, and that will create a record per entity to track what the last change I saw was, so that if the service restarts, it won't process it again. If you wipe it out, it will process every change it's done since CDC got turned on. In this case, I don't think I have that because this doesn't look like it has any form of tracking. Let's close that down. Is there a way to know if I all real time? Real time, not historical log. You can query arbitrary. Right. So these are live change streams. So thank you for the follow, by the way. Whereas the SQL Server version needs to track it, right? And if you reset that table, you're going to process every single change again. Then that's something to worry about. So with the SQL Server version of this, if I'm processing a record that I know is from SQL Server, I'm going to want to check the date time on the change. And if the date time on the change is older than the one I have, then I ignore it, is essentially what I'll do. Whereas this is live. If I don't have the data, then I don't have the data. So I'm going to have to figure out how to seed this data in the view from these other objects. That's going to be challenging. What I'm probably going to do is wipe out the IGDB piece so that as I add a game, as I start to change the new behavior, because I've removed all the links and stuff anyway, I've wiped the database out. So as I link a game, that's going to push that change and pull the record in CDC and deal with that. So yeah. So I'm not sure this has anything. So this might just be an action on changes detected, right? And now all we do is await on changes detected. That invoke. That should be asynchronous though. Oh, task. So it is a function. Task. Right. It's a func. Why did I screw up then? Change monitor. String task. And then we await change.full document. But change here is a change stream document of beaten document. Async, await. Oh, yes. That might be an interesting challenge. We'll do, I think we had logger, right? Did we not put a logger in here? No, because we have, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, logging is something I gotta figure out. So the monitors themselves are created, they're not dependency injected. So that makes a bit of a mess for logging because no, just do that. My control KD sensitivity is there. Let's do introduce field. Pause between watch ms. No. Ugh. Helps if you do the right thing. Introduce field, introduce constant. And on exception, because that's that. Introduce field. Okay, so once we've received a bunch of changes, we'll wait 5 seconds before asking again. That can probably be, considering how this is used, that can probably be a little shorter. So this is the actual bulk of it. Now the change monitoring service, this is going to be a little different. So in the current version, we set up the monitors. This is going to be similar. And again, what I'll do is I'll figure out the commonality. So yes, I'm copying and pasting code, but what I'm going to do is figure out the commonality. And if there is an actual clear commonality between the two, I'll abstract that to a base class and make that perform the same, so I don't end up with copy and pasted code everywhere, right? So options in this case is going to look similar. Now, yes, because the publisher deals with the handler. So we've decoupled the act of publishing the details from the actual monitoring. So no matter what the monitor is, the handler will receive the message. That's kind of the purpose. So iConfiguration is going to need to go in here as well. iConfiguration can go in here because it's kind of singleton to the system, whereas options and stuff are not. So you'll see that I have these things are there, and then they're created there. We don't need that. We don't need that. We do need that. And we do need that. So let's go to initialize. Initialize goes to the bottom because it's just variable setting. We do need a logger. Logger. There. They go away. Initializing monitorings. Initializing MongoDB monitoring service. And SQL Server monitoring service. Our execute, that can go away, and that's initialize, and then await start monitoring. I think I put that above. Now what this does is it goes and gets a list of the monitors from the collections, right? And then we'll select the collection, and the change monitor in this case is a MongoDB change monitor, because again, we're probably going to move that up. We got our connection string name from here, and our process changes, which is the core of what we do, is going to be here. Now, The slight difference here is that I'm going to receive one of these per document. So it's not going to be the same. Exactly. But let's copy and paste the code in anyway so we can get an idea of how we process things. So this is just going to be a task here. And we're going to have we need the collection name actually. Collection name. I think we need the database there as well. We do. We need the database name. How do we do that over here? I'm running out of time today. Change publisher. Collection name. String database name. Kind of tempted to make that a type. Just saying. And this is going to be a BSON document. Changes. The purpose of this is that the actual publisher stuff, rather than pass all the dependencies to the publisher down into the monitor will go and get the changes. And then when it's got changes to handle, it will process these. So all these will be running their own threads. So this might start, if I have dozens of tables, this will start dozens of tasks, potentially many threads, and schedule them appropriately. But then this monitoring service will receive these changes as they come in and push them out again, right? So as for performance, I have no idea at this point, right? I don't know how it's going to perform. I don't know what it's going to do. These are things we learn, right? So that's the purpose. I don't care if it's wrong. Knowing that I've tried and how I failed is the purpose. So this MongoDB change monitor needs a connection string. And then it needs a collection and a database name, or database name then collection. And what I was saying before is I could probably figure that out from. So this would be options.value.database name and options. And then collection name. Of course, it's right there. And then collection, sorry. And then this process changes async needs, what does that need? Oh, because I didn't change the signature of the actual monitor, did I? JSON document. So we need string, because we're gonna have to pass back the database and the collection name, the collection. String JSON document cancellation token. Yeah, that now fits. Await task. String JSON document cancellation token. Ambiguous invocation. Oh. Okay, so that gives us our change monitoring service from Mongo, kind of. And then what this does is it goes and gets the changes. Well, we have the changes. So logger dot log information, log debug, yeah. Processing table, collection name. No, I don't need that. Await change publisher dot publish async. New entity change. Okay. So on the monitor, we get inserts, updates, and deletes. Do we know what that is the question. If we have to get the change. I think we might need to change this to be a change stream document. Right, and that what's there. And this is now a change stream document. And now our entity change here is going to be change dot operation type dot as change operation, and then change dot full document dot to objects. Let's try that first, and then our collection name. I don't think our database name matters as much as I might think it does there. And then that takes a stopping token. Yeah, that's nice and simple, isn't it? What? Okay, I am running out of time. This CC helper extensions as change operation. That's not going to work that way. We need infrastructure, add CDC helper extensions. Basically, what this is changing the type that Mongo says it is into it's changing what Mongo says is an update, insert or delete, into what I say is an update, insert or delete. Change operation. And this is a, whatever that is, operation type is a change stream operation type. Change stream operation type. And operation is insert. Update or delete. So simplistic, yes, but it does mean that I get rid of any Mongo specifics here. So this object now is going to be interesting. This is where the challenge is. So in theory, I can now start the monitors for Mongo. I can say, okay, initializing MongoDB monitoring service, X monitors loaded, X monitors started. So we can, in theory, have this configuration here now. So connection string, so this will monitor the games collection out of there. So as I insert a game into here, I will also have a handler. So this would be IGDB games handler, right? And this will handle that specific case. And we just need to map that object out of there, and then we'll get the same IGDB data. And ultimately, the goal is to combine all this into one new DB schema. So as I change these individual databases with their data from their APIs, the background will produce a new schema from which I can query. The eventual consistency here is going to be challenging. But again, learning. Yes, if you're not following Frank, I highly recommend it. If you like .NET content, Frank does, he streams right now once a week on Fridays after my stream normally. But it's a great place to go and hang out. He knows a lot about cloud, and he builds in Blazor and other technologies that I just don't go near normally day to day. So I would highly recommend checking out Frank. And I don't know if I'll be able to do this, will I? I have to wait 46 seconds. Well, okay. Well, you kind of undercut me there, Stoney, but I gotta go because it's 9:07. I've got a job to do. Um, you did that in the wrong time. Stony Eagle is also a great streamer and streams Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I would highly recommend going checking him out. It's a chill place. He streams for a lot longer, doing .NET and PHP and client stuff in Vue.js, building his bot and his main application, No Mercy. Oh, No Mercy Media Server. But thank you for joining me. I gotta go. We're gonna go raid a little too long sometimes. Yeah, you need to look after yourself. We're gonna go raid. We're gonna go raid maybe because it's a good place to go hang out, and I'm going there anyway. So I will be back on Wednesday. I'm going to continue working on this, trying to get this up and running. If you're interested, if you want to join the Discord, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to come in and ask questions. Doesn't matter whether they are on the specifics of CDC or the, hey, I'm starting to get into development and want to know more. I am open to all levels of software development. So thank you very much for joining me. I will be back on Wednesday. Take care. Have a great rest of your day if I don't see you around. And yeah, I will see you soon. Hello, Loki. Hello, buddy. Oh, how you doing? Oh, they can't see you. Hello, my friend.